Good morning, everyone. This is Teresa with Asseret Studio. So today I'm going to go ahead and just do a little crafting. What I'm working on is creating some of these wonderful jumbo flashcards with a little flip using a paper bag. I watched some YouTube videos the other day, and I believe it was Wendy's Journal Adventure, where she had used a tag with a bag that flipped. So I recently, with a friend, my friend Marla and I, had gone flea marketing, and I found this wonderful box of jumbo flashcards, and they're quite old, and there's a full box, so I thought, what could I do to use some of this newly purchased ephemera? So what I did was I basically used my jumbo flashcard, one of my craft little envelopes, and just added some paper ephemera and a Tim Holtz character. So there it is. I was really pleased with the end result. I'm still wondering whether I need to cut out maybe a word or a phrase from an old book, but I can always do that later. So I'm going to make another one today. So if you'd like to come along with me and maybe even craft along with me, great. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and move my planner. I like to plan what I'm going to be doing my videos on. Where I found some of my ephemera pieces to use today is, this is a really cool 6th grade new mathematics from my husband's childhood, and it's a 1968 edition. I have Great Songs of the Year. It's a 73 edition, but the actual copyright of some of the songs are actually older than 73. There's some really cool ones and bring back some good memories. And an atlas that I found at a wonderful thrift shop in our town here. It's wonderful. I absolutely adore it. It'll last for years. It's chock full of beautiful maps. So what I did was, after watching Wendy work on her tag bag flip, is I thought, I have all that new ephemera, and I'd like to start using it because there's just something about these large flashcards. I'm a retired teacher, and these just bring back memories of my teaching. So I'm going to go ahead and have this large flashcard. I'd like to use this side so I can see the number 9 and the number 13. I'm also going to use a craft bag. I think this is about a 3x4 bag. I've already gone ahead and coffee dyed some of these outside. A few weeks ago I did a mass coffee paper dyeing and put some tags and things out there in the sun to dry, so I got a lot of those done early. So what I did was I went ahead and chose one of my bags, and I don't like this little flip, so I went ahead and trimmed that off. And so what I ended up having is just a bag where I cut off the back portion. I went ahead and used an embossing folder, and you don't have to have this, but I have a lot of these, and I tend to forget to use the skinny narrow ones, and I just went ahead and ran that through my Big Shot and ended up with this really nice scallop lacy look, which I think makes it look a little more older. Makes it look older. And then I had to figure out, okay, which one of these cuties by Tim Holtz am I going to use today? So I like all of them. I adore the bags full of all these characters, and they're a lot of fun to work with. So I think today I'm going to go ahead and work with this little girl. I like her ruffled dress and her somber looking face. She might be headed to school, who knows. So it kind of goes with my theme of using the flashcard. So I'm going to go ahead and choose her today. Put the rest of them over here. I'm going to use a portion of a guest check. Once again, I've already tea dyed and coffee dyed a lot of my paper ephemera. And I'll be using the Ranger Archival ink in coffee. I think that color is a nice color to age things with. This is a Stampin' Up. It's a large world map stamp. I use it a lot for background just to give a little more depth and dimension. And some tacky glue. So I went through my ephemera, my books of ephemera paper, and I found a couple of different things I'd like to use. I've got this map sheet, a music sheet. It's actually an old Alice Cooper song. That'll probably age me. And then a sheet from that 1968 math book. So I went ahead and tore some scraps of paper from those to use to layer. So what I'm going to do first is I've got my flashcard, my jumbo flashcard, my embossed bag. I'll go ahead and make sure that can open up. Sometimes when you emboss things, it presses it in. You need to open it up. And it already has a nice design. So I'd like to add a little more dimension to that. So I will just simply use my Ranger Archival ink, ink the stamp up, and just gently pat on this to add a little more depth to it. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and attach the bag to this. Now, if you want to decorate the bag first, that's fine. I just like to attach it so I can kind of see where things go. So what I want is a flap to be able to fold over on the back side. So I'm simply going to see the edge here and just simply apply some glue along this edge. So it'll fold over to make a nice little flip, little tuck spot or a little secret journaling spot. So I'm just going to run that glue along there and then just fold it over. I know it's about 1/4 of an inch of a fold over, I believe. All right, so there you have it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go through some of the pieces that I've torn and figure out where I'd like to set things down. So once again, I'm using this image of the little girl. And I like the way she has all of those ruffles, so I think putting a few pieces of lace to kind of mimic the ruffles would be kind of fun. So I'm going to set her down. And I'd like to add several different textures. So I do have some of these pieces of fabric. It's embroidery fabric, and if you can see those blue lines, these are this is a piece that's been left over from an embroidery project. I think it's probably 1950s, maybe 60s. I'll show you real quick where that print came from. So if you'll look, you can see the stamped design that someone didn't finish embroidering on my cover here. You can see where they did some French knots, but you can see the stamped design. And after I sewed this on, I had some pieces from the edges left over. So I thought, why not use those? So I'm going to go ahead and use my guess check. I've torn the rest of it off. And I actually have tea-dyed and stenciled on. It's a little bit of a hexagon pattern. So I'm going to set that down right there. I'm going to go ahead and open that up so it's easier to work on. Set that down. And then I think I want to go ahead and get a piece of the map paper. Set that down. I don't want anything to go over that, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of adjust that. I'll end up tearing that off. And then I believe I would like to use a little bit of the music sheet. So I've got a couple pieces here. I like the back side of that. This one has some words. I helped you get the... So I'm going to go ahead and set that on here. I like that, but I don't like this edge showing. So when I fold it over, I want my bag to be totally covered on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue these on because I like the placement of these. So I'm going to go ahead and remove them little bit by little bit. Go ahead and put my tacky glue on the back side of the top portion of a guess check. Got to squeeze hard. It's a full bottle, but it's really tough to get the glue out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set that down, leaving a little bit of the edge exposed, edge of the bag exposed. Press it down. And now I'm going to go ahead and apply the map. Just building my layers here. So I like that. And I'm just very gently making sure there's no glue here. And I'll cut that off here in a second. Press that down. And then I'm going to add the music. There we go. Actually, I think it was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and, so I don't make a mess, I'm going to go ahead and put that glue right there. and make sure I've got that covered up. Push it over a little bit so when I'm done I can just quickly cut off the edge of that. So this is what I have so far. I've layered 3 different types of paper. And I'm going to make sure those are all down. Now I'd like to use some of this, the remains of an embroidery project with some of the stamped image showing, and I also want to add some lace. So before I start gluing down, I want to go ahead and put my little girl down where I'd like her, and I'd like to add a little bit of texture with the little embroidery remnants. And I like the pink in the map, so I'm going to add a little bit of the pink lace. I think I might slide that right here. Put her little feet there. And I also have this itty bitty piece that I'd like to use up. So I think I'd like to put that on the top of that. I'll go ahead and lift so you can see. And then I do have one other piece that I'd like to incorporate. She's got all these ruffles on her dress, and I like that look. So I think, let's check this out. If I can put, let's try this. If I can put this right there, put this little pink piece over, and then put this piece behind her head, so you can, I want that blue to show because I think it's kind of unique that it's a leftover piece from somebody's embroidery project. All right, I think I like that, but I'm not real sure I like this. So I'm going to go ahead and take that away, put this straight across. Now I like that, and then place that on top of that. That right there. I want that blue to show, and then like that. I think I like that. So this is what it looks like right now. All right, so what I'm going to do is put everything down except for the little girl. So the first thing I want to do is get this piece of lace down here. So I'm just going to run a little bit of glue straight across. Pat that in. It'll dry clear. And it's okay to have this excess because if you want to wrap it around, that's fine. Or you could wrap it around so it goes to here and cut it off. So it's okay to have that excess hanging off. Then I'm going to go ahead and put this piece of lace across the top where I thought it would be. I don't want to hide where it says guest check. And then I'm going to just place that across, pat it down. Now this is where I want to add just a little more dimension with some of the lighter coloring here. So I'm just simply going to take my Archival Ranger ink up my stamp, and I'm just randomly going to stamp across just my pieces of paper that I've glued down. And you really can't see, it's not obvious that you've stamped it, but when you look at it, it does add some more dimension and it kind of ages things a bit. All right, now I want to go ahead and put on this little fabric piece. I want to make sure I'm using that so I can see the printed stitchery. Put that on the very edge right there. I like that. Press it down, and then I want to put just a little bit of glue so that little tiny piece of lace still is being utilized. I'm going to push it up a little bit. Kind of covered that blue up, but that's okay. I won't get stuck on that. So this is what we have so far. All right, then I am ready to place my little girl on there. Oh, you know what? I did forget something. I wanted to use a piece of some math problems. So I want to add that somewhere. And I think probably the best place for that is right above. I'm going to make that a little bit, well, make that a little bit thinner. I'm going to place that right above that pink lace. I like the contrast between the pink and then the light green. Whoops. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, I like that. All right, so once again, I'm just simply placing a line of glue. It can extend over the edge, and I'm going to set that down. Grab my stamp again. It probably still has some ink on it. There we go. All right, this is what we have. Press down. All right, now I believe I'm ready for this little cutie. Once again, we're using this little girl. So I'm going to apply a lot of glue on the back, down to her little shoes, so she is really stuck on there. And make sure none of that's oozing through. And gently place her on top of all of those layers. So what I like to do is, when I'm using a lot of glue and a lot of layers, what I like to do to make sure everything sticks really well is I like to go ahead and take a sheet of paper and place it on top of all the layers and use this brayer to roll just to make sure that everything's sticking really well. So I do that a lot when I layer. You can probably use, and you can use your hands and just smooth it really hard, get the edge of a book and press, but I've got this brayer and I'll just go ahead and use that. And then I'll lift that up. Double check there's no glue oozing out, but now I know that everything's sticking down really well. All right, so I am almost done with this little cutie. I really like how this looks. So the next step is, you can wait until it dries, but I don't think it's really necessary, is to go ahead and decide whether you want to wrap that around to add a little look and interest to the backside, or just simply cut that off. So today, I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the remainders. So I'll fold those very carefully. Whoops. All right, and then I don't like that piece. Now, once again, I could flip it over, but it doesn't have any glue on it, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. All right. Now I have these pieces. Now I could bring those over, or I could cut them off. I don't like the way that that looks, so I'm going to go ahead and trim those off as well. So once again, make sure there's no glue and just trim those off carefully without cutting the edge of your bag. All right, and there you have it. She's a little cutie. So you could decorate that side if you'd like. You can fold things over. You can write a secret message. But remember, you can tuck things in the bag. So what I plan on doing is tucking the remains of my guest checks in there. You could tuck a tag in there or whatever, a picture, anything you'd like. And the last thing that I did to make this even a little bit more useful in journals is on my original that I showed you at first, I went ahead and added 2 sheets of paper that I've used this same stamp on to give a little background, glued a little bit of the ephemera sheets that I used. So I did front and back, front and back. So in essence, you have a jumbo bag flip with lots of journaling space. And then I just went ahead and stitched that on, and I can tuck that in a pocket in my journal and store some other little bits and pieces in the pocket, or slide in a small tag. So there you have it. 2 cute little projects that are easy and fun to make and really don't require a lot of supplies. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you like watching me create, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel, and best of luck with your journaling and building ephemera pieces. I appreciate you watching. Thank you. Bye-bye.